Threat with a look at cyber espionage. In our last hour, Connell McShane talked with Rod Beckstrom, former National Cybersecurity Director, who had this dire warning for us.
The internet was designed for openness, flexibility, and information sharing, and there's maybe more of that going on than we really want to see. But the reality is, if you're connected, you're vulnerable.
If you're connected, you're vulnerable. And joining us now, we've got General Michael Hayden, former CIA director and former National Security Director. General Hayden is now principal of the Chertoff Group, a global security advisory firm. Thanks for being with us, General Hayden. Who are the biggest players that we have to fear in cyber espionage, and are they governments or are they terrorists?
No, what we're seeing right now, Dennis, is the primary threat in espionage is coming from governments. Now, look, all nations spy, including our own, but what the Chinese doing is unprecedented in its scale, and it's unprecedented in its targets. I mean, they aren't after just state secrets. They're going after industrial and trade secrets in a way we've never seen before.
Now, the Pentagon, I believe, last year adopted a policy saying to foreign governments, our enemies, basically, if you hack into defense systems, we look at that as equivalent to an act of war. Do we need to establish a more serious repercussions for hacking into private networks?
Well, Dennis, you've hit a very important problem here. Is we just don't have a good understanding, even among ourselves, as to what constitutes warfare, espionage, or accepted international practice when it comes to the cyber domain. Now, what we're seeing now with regard to the Chinese, I mean, just picture this. This is a nation state with all the power of a nation state, not attacking another nation state, but attacking American industry. That's an incredibly uneven playing field, and I, for one, believe that there now has to be consequences for Chinese action, not in terms of warfare, perhaps not even in terms of shooting back in the cyber domain. They're doing this for economic advantage. So I think there should be costs for the Chinese in their economic relationship with the United States.
Now, that report came out recently from Manti, or whatever, security, saying 141 companies, thousands of attacks over the past 6 years, traceable to almost the doorstep of the People's Liberation Army of China. What surprised me, though, it's one thing to go in and get corporate espionage and the design of a router for the internet. They were also getting into electrical grids. And I wondered whether they aren't testing for the ability to shut one down in case of a war with the U.S.
Now, that's a real danger and a real concern. Now, look, most of what's going on out there right now, Dennis, is espionage. They're stealing our stuff. That's bad enough. But there isn't much to steal on what we call a SCADA grid, an industrial control and information grid. Their presence there is very troubling because in the cyber domain, if you can penetrate a system and live on it undetected for a long period of time and extract data from it, you already have sufficient control over that system to affect damage on it. So the fact that they're even in these different networks is very, very troubling.
Indeed, the Mandiant report that came out a week or two ago said some of these attacks had been going on for a period of years without the host target company even realizing it. And you got to wonder here, you know, it seems like we've got this Bermuda Triangle. You've got vendors who don't want to have to take on the extra cost of more bulletproofing. You've got customers who don't want to pay the extra cost. And you've got government. Who should pay, General Hayden? When are we going to work this out? This problem's been here for a decade.
No, it really has. But I think now, and Dennis, I've seen this in my 4 years since I've left government service. I've seen this problem now migrate in American industry from the CIO and the CTO up to the top deck. This is now a serious problem for CEOs and COOs. They now see this as an important part of doing business if they expect to do business in the cyber domain. So I do see businesses strapping on more of a responsibility to defend themselves. Now, Dennis, businesses can only get so far. I've told you, there are nation states out there attacking us. Business has a certain responsibility to take most of the nuisance attacks off the table. But frankly, when it comes to defending them against a nation state, our government has to do more too.
Well, let's hope they get this fixed, General Hayden, before the next crisis rather than in response to the next one. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And as we report on the cyber threat throughout the week,